It's 10 o'clock.
In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes. May all sentient beings free from suffering and causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, zero bias, attachment, and anger. Is surrounded not to be perfumed, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon. I visualize this Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the pure land.
그거는 참말로 참 뜻하시듯이
올라고 주디 뮤치
My warm greetings to you all. Good morning, and thank you for joining me both here in temple and as well as online. Thank you.
대랑 다 로마 같이 줬던 지진 로마 타가 정말 탐망으로 지진 로마 된 시간에 양지 등 시럽기랑 진지진네 성지 담지 틀리 속직의 대화래 내 지진 로마 그때 셔도 된지 봐 섬나당 다 인도 때 섬다나 때라네 상차와동 조정사와동 남경아도 남비 로탕진들 상차와동 조정사와동 지세랑 그 정서와이 요수동 탐족성 지문고 소연자 어떤 그 때라네 당 링가 있으면 이거는 기윈데와데 상차와래 상차와다 때라 때네 아니 지금 링 아주 초바 대랑 로이나 로주고 초바 가정다가 저거 되겠나 때라 근데 자기와던 다 노비 연등아가 야 초바프 소정 네 때라 때네 아니 소소랑 링가 있으면 때네 강지야 지금 잠시와지야 된거 또 셈나 잠바지네 샥바지 초정 샥바지 때네 랑 당진 담지 그 샤와가르 전에 야고 정보가르 지점나 때 셈나 당네 가와지네 가와고 지세이랑지 지세이랑 아니 대진에 아니 때 지진로미 특질이네 다 꾸상 소와데 버지 꿀상즈네 꿀가르 꿀거즈나 치지 콜로 코랑알라 치송을 쓰고 지네 파 소한데 진네 지진로미 특질이네 지 샴당냥지 같은데 오진로 토네 군다르들서 생각한 남비 코네 토네 알아서 소소 로아심진 탐치길이라 다 라버단 나르기 총도는 로아도 다라서 탐치길이야 포네 소소길이야 지진로미 특이신로 탐지 종송 삼진에 같이네 성 다른 도에서 뜻던 찬이 바 담아들라 조정 시작바 지세랑 그 종소와이네 다 소한데 바가르는 아니 못했니 마오는 지로미 지스즘니 있는 타바 사람이 탐지때 바 지스즘 바통 아니 때라때니 수수 기와강요 왔다 속비상 지체 뭔고즈네 다 야노든 바고네 근데 때론 뜻이
Let's begin today's Dharma discussion with our usual Arya Torah mantra presentation or meditation practice. First of all, as a quick reminder, and as we repeatedly have talked about this critical point before, that when you meditate on Arya Torah, or when you engage in the meditation practice of Aryan Tara, and think about it, that she is the embodiment of the pristine wisdom and greater compassion, Maha Karuna, and the Jnana, or pristine wisdom. In fact, because of this, she is the embodiment of these two unique qualities of all the Buddhas. So therefore, further, she is the embodiment of the noble deeds or the enlightened deeds of all Buddhas, Buddhas of 3 times and the 10 directions. So when you have this in your vivid image of Arya Torah, represent as the manifestation or manifested or show you the way that how she appeared in front of you in your meditative states of concentration, and she as the great accomplishment of the wisdom and the practice of wisdom and the great compassion. And so you think that she present is she is a present. Okay? Her presence is has been established in your state of meditative concentration. Now you need to do what we technically in traditional practice called the 7 links of practice, the 7 links of practice, meaning that you established or developed, generated, or invoked, right? Invited, and you successfully invited the Aryatara and present appear in the state of your meditative concentration. Now you need to do the 7 different practice, and as a response, or as a proper way to enhance this sacred relationship between you and Aryatara. First of all, and you need to do the prostration, right? The prostration, or show your respect. Show your respect is that what you do is that normally we do the like a full prostration, right? Or the just bowing down, and whatever the way, and show your show your reverence to her. That's the first practice of the 7 links of the ritual. And then after you do that, so then you make an offering. Make an offering here that you can do both, and physically, like the way we today, we have this altar and the ritual, and the offerings of we made displayed in front of the altar here, and you can see as a result of that we made it yesterday during the rituals of Aryatara practice. And so this is the actual the object of the offering. And then you also can think that mentally, you manifest or you can imagine all the desirable and beautiful objects that you mentally going to offer to the Aryatara. And so typically the object offering you use it is which we call this doyuma. That means these 5 desirable the ritual objects. Okay, so that's the which is again whatever is appears that's so beautiful and pure and has a great quality and a very mind please the mind, and that the object you can take and use it as object offering. And then thirdly, you needed to confess. Confess here is that in the sense that so you sort of reflect back or try to recollecting whatever the non-virtuous action that you have done and that you can remember. And so from the bottom of your heart and express your regrets, and then know that this is not whatever you done was wrong, and it's bad for yourself, and for if they engage involved with the hurting others also is very bad, and then make sort of make a commitment and yourself that you've never done it again. So this is the confession. And the third item. The fourth item of the 7 links of practice is to rejoice, right? Rejoice in the sense that whatever you have done, good things and virtuous thing, and something that has altruistic motivate the act as an act of an altruism and or being helpful, and which is the act of kindness, compassion, and so if you're done, and then they rejoice that and give yourself credit and be have some kind of great appreciation and towards what you have done. And if it's done by others, you recognize, you remember, you saw, you have heard of somebody else did a wonderful thing, which is virtuous, altruistic, and has a great spiritual meaning, and then also take them and to your mind, and then deeply appreciate and express how grateful you are, how thankful you are, and you truly admire and what they have done and to others, or the way they did it, and so you like it, show your admiration, your appreciation. That is the fourth item. The fifth item is now you need now you need a request, right? Request the Aryan Torah to teach you and teach all sentient beings. Here technically called the turning the wheel of the Buddha Dharma. The turning wheel of the Buddha Dharma is you request Aryan Torah according to each individual's capacity and their personal interest and the temperaments, and they guide them and show their spiritual path and teach them. So you request that to Aryan Torah in the acts or responded to and the needs of others, and help them right on the spot. So for what it bothers us in particular now on the planet Earth, we know that we are being troubled by the pandemic, and specifically. So, and of course, the sentient beings suffer in generally and all kinds of sufferings. So when you request the teachings from Aryan Torah, and then request that she is that teach you the path and help you to overcome all the obstacles, and at the same time also imagine that from Aryan Torah's the sacred body and illuminate the lights and lights that shines out, and then by which and all the sufferings being removed, or whoever is making this request, and both in the you and whoever you can think of, all sentient being, all of them are being, and the light of the light that come out from the body of the sacred body of Aryan Torah is because it's a manifestation, a representation of the kindness, compassion, and the wisdom, and all Buddha's deeds. So therefore, instantly, and both whatever the painful experiences you have, and as well as any other sentient beings you can imagine, all the problems being taken care of instantly. So and then enjoy, and then all sentient beings are enjoying the peace and be content. So think of that. And then the other item is about so asking this all things have been done in your meditation, okay, in the state of your recitation or Aryan Torah mantra recitation. After you arise the meditation, and then so you wish that Aryan Torah is stay forever, or maintain in that state of appearance, the state of the sacred manifestation in your meditative concentration. So it stay there and ever and forever, and never disappear. So as long as the sentient being remain, the space remain, and until this samsara is emptied, so this sacred bound, or the appearance and a manifestation of Aryan Torah is remain as long as until samsara empty. So and the last item of the 6 limbs of practice is the dedication. So dedication. By the way, this 6th item is technically called the request or supplication. So request or supplication is that you prayer and express your deepest the urgent request or the needs which that Aryatara remain or always appear, stay the same state of the sacred and show you her sacred presence all the time. So that's the 6th item. The last one is dedication. The dedication is so now you reflect back on what you have done, and in this state of meditation, through the process of 7 limbs of practices, you have achieved, accumulated a great deal of merits. Now you're going to dedicate all of them, take them as some kind of the credit, and then offer to the benefits of all sentient beings.
당보 샹차와데 가르즈 링이 있으면 기워시 빠지 링이 있어 거시 빠디 돈도 가려 온 거는 또 나르지 그냥 모르고 나르지 요나 미티 같이는 마 기슈 용아 용고 말 나치 보인 링이 땅아 역수는 미라 기슈 용고 말 때다 링이 있으면 거는 샹차와데 기와키 위치들 나르지 그냥 모르지 샹차와데 초정 초바프에도 야 짐바 땅아도 상승기 짐바다 jumba tanga te karzina serni nyembor serna se tanga ro ngo kangshi ki pa tongala semnang de tongba te semna jo te serna se ti nyembo ne jumba tanga te den chopa phuni che jumba tanga jumbi tang jumba tang na ne ha long jumbi long chun jong se te so so rang ne sha cha cho jang sha ba ji de so so rang gyön tang yön de chama gyön cham ji jamba ji ne ha si kang ji wa de jo 잠바지 띠강라 때 요바당 지고네 지마 지금은 담자지네 진네 야르기 당당 셈 마지시 당네 호마가 꾼이 지시 당 야고 람칸로 인세 삼노텔 샤바스 고라 텔레티 당다 도지 창세 때는 뭐시 jor다 되는 샤바스 아니 초정 샤바도 다 지스이랑 세때 파쇼 초상 차사 기위 일때라 때니 띠기지 시연된 담지 셈나 잠바지네 어텔라 가오곰니 다파동 지세랑 라운드레라 텔라테네 어테 갈라 톱나 삼비 삼로 데데 셈나가 아니 데데 푸주 초바트 탐전네 런질 종나 삼비 삼로테 당 텔 가오곰 바테 지세양 세랑지 지세양 요나 텔라 가오 요나 텔라 레론 지큐어 테나타 텔라 가오곰 바테 니서서 지세랑 쿠샹소한데 쿠샹인데 다 치치콜로 콜 소한데 바 쿠샹인데 치치콜로 콜 치치콜로 세테 갈서고즈나 롱동 토비 담치 남이데 네 그런 거 아니 특별히 요비 아니 토비 연든도 탐지 셰럽동 탑기 차등 셰럽기 차 탐지 마 코리 라토닝 가로다 덴트베 라직도 와 어텔라 롱구 치즈 때 롱구 치등 아주 암조가 녀어서 암조가 녀니더니 티톤데 삼노동 삼톤도 곰친 가랑도 gelate 던트 치마진 수 gelake 오서 토비 친구서 토비 친구 아주 고중은 롱구 친구를 때니 토비 친구 등하고 gelake 고 토비 친구다 삼당냐지 람지르 바탐 수gelake 고 저다 때네 치치코로 등할 치송로치 치송능이 냠는 지긴 셀다 디지털 조정 시거든 지세랑 어디자 안에 선자 조정 시바 지세랑 쿠샹제 쿠샹 소원데 바지 아니 소원데 바세 아니 쳇당 디당 남바 탐지 때 갈라페 아니 냠데 그 양을 만들어 지기니 아니 치송을 소치 진짜 소원데 아니 다 데가 아니 지세랑 요나 텔 미텔라 카티나 착도 그냥 뭐 착고 하속 때라 강데 분수 속바지라 때라 가와검 정없어 랑징 때라 막 착도 요 말. 등가 찌땅 직딩 거 맞지 않는 아니 야는 데모들 비로 토야나 밀라 기스 용화 밀라 로지 타와 어느 때 아니 미기니 연도 소소랑 질라 토타와 하속도 착도 막기와 어때리 판도 망고 요르지 어때 인사다 때랑 노디지 때 찌땅 강라 야나 야는 데마트 페카 침버서 버스 텐서 때 정도 대런 근지다 선라즘 유도 야는 데마트 인지
So let me explain in the importance of 7 limbs of practice from slightly from a different perspective, or more sort of technically from a spiritual point of view, or narrowly, and by focusing on its spiritual significance. Okay? The implication of its spiritual importance. Again, number one, is the prostration. So first item is prostration. When we think about prostration, we must know that prostration is the action that has to be involved with the body, speech, and mind. Okay. So in other words, your practice of prostration as a gesture or as expression of veneration, and you must implementing this your body, or express that through with your body, and such as like bow down, either is the traditional three the knee down and bow, or the full prostration. So you need to take do it with your body physically, and then the expression of the prostration also can be expressed through the verbal, or through the by uttering, or saying some kind of like a eulogy, or the press, or express the great appreciation, admiration verbally. And then at the with your body, other than the body and the speech, in your mind, when you practice the prostration, and with your mind, in your mind, you must, by reflecting upon the noble qualities, the great spiritual significance of the object that you are showing your respect, right? And then deeply admire and deeply express your most profound venerations and to the object of the prostration. In this case, is Arintara, right? Now, what is really this prostration is spiritually so important? It is because prostration is being used, or has to be used, can be used as the antidote to cope with that self-pride. We know that arrogant, self-pride, or being arrogant, right? And self-pride, which is a big problem, right? And the self-pride and the arrogant, being arrogant, then arrogancy is really a very harmful attitude. So therefore, in order to overcome this arrogance, so we needed to do something which is opposite from this arrogancy, the attitude of arrogance, that is the veneration or the expression of your admiration, and by prostrated to the sacred object, such as Arintara in this case, with your body, speech, and mind. So yes, so why, if you ask the question why we need a prostration, and that's because we have the problems of arrogancy or the self-pride. And the prostration is the antidote to help you to overcome this the self-pride. And second item we know that, like we talked about, is make offering. So the spiritual significance of the make offering and to the Arintara, or to the enlightened being, is aimed to accumulate your the merits, and whereby, and so then you will have you accumulate the merits, and whereby you will have the whatever the wealth and what if and the things that you're going to appreciate or you need it. So all the desirable material aspect of the favorite condition will be produced because of this action of make offering to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and here we are talking about Aryantara. Now, what is the importance of the spiritual, the significance of the spirituality of this offering and the ritual of the offering? That is, the offering is the antidote, or can be used, should be used as the antidote to help the individual overcome the problem of miserliness, okay, or the iron fist, or stingy, or the miserliness, right? We know that throughout our life, we do have a lot of troubles, and we've been suffered by being too miserly and not being generous. So therefore, and practice the offering, it would help you to overcome and this problem of miserliness, and then make you become a very generous person, whereby and then you will have a sufficient of plenty and the favorable the materialistically, and everything will be turned into very favorable to support you. And then third item is confession. Confession is the antidote, is used as antidote and to overcome the misdeeds, wrongdoing actions, and which is non-virtual, and you have committed. So now during the confession, and you clearly recognize that is wrong, and it's harmful, and its consequences are negative. So by fully recognize and the misdeeds that you have ever committed, and then express your deep the regrets, and then so whereby and you can overcome the problems of this misdeeds in the which you committed in the past, but most importantly would help you to not redo or not do that again. And speaking of compassion, and generally speaking, we have the four powerful and four reliance of four powers of reliance. But that's different topic. Anyway, and so the four powers of reliance is also is a specific process or the technique, and which is designed to help the individual overcome and to complete the practice of compassion. So maybe we can talk to this some other time. So then the fourth item is rejoice. Rejoice is here in particular in the spiritual context. Spiritual the means of the value of this technique. Rejoice is now you are so in your meditation you're in front of the noble being, the enlightened being, such as Aryantara. So think about what Aryantara have accomplished, did, and is doing with her body, with her speech, and with her the mind. So then you deeply rejoice, right, and share the great appreciation, admiration, and great attitude to Aryantara. So this way, and you will be encouraged and you will have the mind, have the strong aspiration. So you will wish that, oh, Aryan Tara has such a incredible qualities and then bodily, verbally, and mentally. So may I have the same quality as she possessing. So this way you will have a great, you will appreciate and will be very delighted about what you have discovered. You know about Aryan Tara. So in your mind, you will feel very delighted at the same time, and you also will have the strong wish and that you can achieve the same quality yourself. Right? Now let's talk about the spiritual significance of this practice of rejoicement. In general, we know that we, other than the like miserliness, right, and self-arrogance or self-pride, arrogance, and we do have another problem that is the jealousy, right? So the spiritual the significance of the rejoicement, rejoice is that is aimed or desired, should be, is used, can be used to help you overcome the jealous. And speaking of jealousy, we know this is not only useful and very helpful, and for the people who are not necessarily and have any religious interest or and have a religious faith, but not only for those who have a strong religious faith and spiritual interest, but for those who have no any interest in religion or not care about the spirituality, and but still, for those non-religious people, if they adopted the wonderful quality and such as rejoicement, and then it would help them tremendously, because see, when you rejoice, apply the technique of rejoice, you would appreciate the person and and or next to you or associated somewhere relate to you as they have any form of relationship, by sincerely rejoice what they have done, and not only help you to overcome the sufferings of bitterness, right? And but they also can develop a genuine friendship and make others very pleased about you and your decency. So therefore, yes, this rejoicement is a great technique to we all need to adopt, right? And practice in our daily life. And the fifth is this request or supplication, so supplication, request, and we talked about the turning wheel of Dharma in this particular context. So the spiritual implication or the significance of when we said the turning wheel of Dharma, we are referred to two forms of the Buddha Dharma. So first, the Buddha Dharma is a Buddha Dharma of the scripture knowledge, right? And then the second form of Buddha Dharma is the Buddha Dharma of actual realization. Buddha Dharma as the wheel of Dharma, and when you look at from the scripture knowledge point of view, and you know that it is absolutely important because this scriptural knowledge is essentially encoded, right? Is encoded in the language and in the vocabulary. In other words, literally is been encoded in a sound, words, and voice. So we, as an unenlightened being, ordinary sentient being, the way to get the actual Buddha Dharma, right? That is the Buddha Dharma of actual realization. We do need to depend upon the scripture knowledge aspect of Buddha Dharma, meaning that we have to approach, right, the scripture or the teacher, and in this case is Aryantara, and ask her to teach us to say and to through the language, right, and to point out the path for us and to us, and let us enable to recognize the path, and then through that path to achieve the actual realization. So therefore, and yes, so we need to make such a request, and or the supplication, and sincerely wish that Aryantara can utter the Dharma to us in our state of meditation, and so by listening to upon hear the Aryantara and uttering us teach us in this particular the setting of the relationship we just formed in our state of meditation, then we have the hope to experience the actual realization of the Buddha Dharma. So that's why the fifth item, make a requesting or the supplication, is has a very significant meaning. And then the sixth is the request that Aryantara and remain in the state of manifestation, and or the way how it appears to us, and not disappear. Technically, it's called not passing into the nirvana, right? Not passing into nirvana, meaning that stay, remain, and in the form, in the relation that we just formed or we developed. And then the last thing, again, the significant spiritual significance of the dedication is that you're not going to take these qualities or the merits and virtues and the value that you have developed, and anything for yourself, but for the benefits of all others.
Oh yeah, that Roman
So yeah, this is today's essence, and I wish you all can take it home and remember it, and then apply in your daily practice.
Page 74.
Zum den den ba na mo ro ma la shan san lo shan da ro ma de re wa mo de da ra yi je kun se ma de re don ma tam che de ma so yi ge ja na ran de Om Dari De Dari Dari So 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 One day in the Dodge and is on the journey, Roger Jamali, what the Salah Cooper show, Saint of watching a bunch of them, and the Turkish in Ruin and the Mali, what of the Shuman. None to down the bottom song of the John Roberto, Condos and Bowl of so Jason down the year. 다 같은 그 마트니 아클고치 조직 동도 단다 조디강네 뜻가 전부를 등이 된 마 그런데 시작으로 섬들어 다때 차가워 집에 송까지나 치는 물음 따오 삼 마키르비 실라 술 님보 니짱랑 서트롤 람킹오 긴징라 장 시송대지다 다들 그 측들어 텔라타 네 대시 오늘 가르주나 텔라 측강 당보는 종위 디위 치는 데메드 단스당 니와네 짐비 디위 치는 데메드 단스당 선반 쇼플 숄큰 랑일 데메드 담비칠 스무시당네 대남지 쇼금시비 철로스 대파트 아니 다 곰지당데 자곰지고래 쇼바진 쇼금진 아니 강바 타미 쇼니 많이 비톤데라 쇼니 많이 비톤데라 자곰 샹골당 트라비 조금지고니 냠적 종we 름바인라 지톱지 값을 오늘셔도 어떤 파트 마초르들은 이때 시소를 잡고라
Today, I would like to take you back to your copy translation, page 109, to review or working back to the quotes by the great Chakawa in the middle of the text. Because I see this is important, and as the translator pointed out, and maybe there's some the clarification is necessary. So I'm going to go back and review this very important stanza with the quotes, the 4 lines, and try to make it a bit clear. Okay, so on your translation, page 109 in the middle, in the context of training in the ultimate awakening mind, the text says, consider all phenomena as like dreams. Examine the nature of unborn awareness. The remedy itself is released in its own place. Place the essence of the path on the nature of the basis of all. In the first line indicates the method for determining the lack of a true existence of phenomena, included amongst the objects that are apprehended by the mind. The second refers to the technique for establishing the lack of a true existence of the consciousness which apprehended things in such a way, and the third line indicates the means for comprehending the lack of a true existence even of yourself and the investigator. These are modes of carrying out analytical meditation. The last line refers to the process of self-guiding your meditative equipoise through meditation, free from laxity and excitement on the meaning of what is not found by analysis.
어때 네 당보 측강 당보 때 나랑도 쳤던 아니 지 또용으로서 파쇼 일지 좀바 이진지 때 네가 topi kanzak zida tismo gida shashi ti jingora bena tang penchun jamboina ngarazo khala shimbo sagina khala tela thongla yaptang khatu yore tla zhutong zhuru rasha yore 더 담정정 좀 칼라 심보 중 칼라 심보 인 칼라 사리 칼라 심보 때 가라도 때라 달리나 요르수 때라 덴버 로즈는 때 심보 인 바다 가랑 덴버 때는 요아지 동고를 주마 쪽을 로 용고를 따가는 요바드 요르다 때 모인 일기 때 심보 티 담바 탐치 증기 오르다 티 담바 레기 요 말이지 때 딱시 땅네 근데 때다바 가서 용이 가서 서로의 저땅 로땅 락샤 정말 냠지 냠스노 사사나 사차소나 사니 저로 락샤 냥큰 거 시와데 다 나이 좀 지그로 냥큰 또 정말 안에 이질와 일 파쇼 칼라드 상큰 거 일들라 서소 이진기 오니 어 심보도 좀보 말모도 세때 차버 징거도 시와레도 시와데 자나 시와데 같이라 자는수나 같이라 따라는 지기니 니와데 점비 남아도 지 할거요 말. 다 니와데 띠강라 쇼바지고 당보 칼라데지 니와데 상킹 강서 디 초로와 영킹 초로와들 점바이 점비 이친들 상로 선바데 어 상킹 뜻레지니 강서 등이 사이스 그러 nga sense nga ti ka ndisi ta sangkin ti ka ndisi te chani sona te ta takpa chamza ma to nga sangkin khai nga re nipa 올라 요래 강라 요래 어떤 참마 삼도 직당 엔 사탄이 저 가시지기지라 갈라트 마 정준한 로 잘서도 다 저로 저샤동 담바지 레 만두 다 따가랑 가도 때죠 덴버 코랑 디등나 모이닐릭 덴버 메바 비테 쇼에나 딱 모이닐릭 정말 시탐지 땅나 덴럽지 땅 원이 좀 덴버 너가 능거마도 또 정말 닐게 메바지 또 영어서 다때 시작금진네 시아파진네 뜻든지 레베 코든지 모니티 레드겠다 딱시 땅네 자니 많이 비용으로서 모이닐리 코랑 런지 모니다 데드 자니 민두즈네 다 덴버지 땅 모니 전에 말을 다때 망 딱쯤 땅 망보준 차로 차던 좀 용으로서도 그때들 차가 용어를 때니 종화점 기고네 접 용어를 뭐 denjong nili ngoli te korong shika ngoni dember de pati mandu sambe tongbi yang chi o ta ngoi nili mewa ha ko na dendrup ke tong asire ta dember imba te ngoi nili imba tong yong su tongbi cha te ni samlo tong de ta de gom chi ta den jogom chi o ta manye pa de ta kaza sashi yil te samat chi sajju samat kan ti nang ge ro sa te dember yo me chani manye pa ta mangbo te ngoni china te naka mangbo zu te zongsa te 간다 종은 나 데튼지 가지고 중앙이 데튼 mangbo zu 점니 용화로 갈라데 te 파를 잔소 te 파 시로 때코 덴럽지 덴지 요나 때 코근노 소마도
It's 11 o'clock.
때 요마 때 삼로 고스 단 때니 상게 간석 같은데 단도 로용을 서로 정말 안다 같이 되니 요마 시와던 지로 매차 따점비 있는 때 저는 많이 봤대지 딱 간석 사오스르지 뜻은 나 자금지 잡이 잘다 탈라 모이닐 코트 모두 많이 봐야나 다 많이 받달라 동반일라 냠버정스 어떤 냠 조금지 어떤 뜻이고
Okay. So you can see from the text, the 4 lines quotation, it's saying something as really very significant. So what we've been informed by the great master Chakawa, and this through these 4 lines, essentially teach us how to approach the ultimate reality. So by the specific meditative technique, right? The first when we talk about the meditative technique here, is involved with the 2 forms of meditative technique. So first meditative technique is called analytical meditation, or meditation that is conducted analytically, right? So when you bring your empirical knowledge, your sense of the reality, right, into this process of critical analysis, analytical meditation, at the end of the your practice, and you will find that you will reach the conclusion, or you will arrive at the point where you find that there's nothing was found, or the unfoundedness of something that's unfounded. That is the crucial point. Let's explain or learn and line by line, see how this technique is being taught. Okay. Firstly, our empirical knowledge or experiences, and that tells us that we are constantly sort of engaging in, or in the process of entanglement with this dualistic reality, meaning that the objectivity and the subjectivity, or here technically in the Buddhist language is called apprehended and apprehending, right? So apprehend and apprehended. So we constantly apprehend and deal with the apprehended. Right? Like the text says, we do need to understand what we are experiencing, what we believe, basically is an illusion. Right? Is a kind of the show of it is a deceptive, is the show of our misperception of the reality. In other words, is the manifestation of our misperception of the reality itself. So like the first line says, consider all phenomena, right? All phenomena as like a dream, right? So that's the attitude, that's the way we need to adopt, right? We need to adopt this very instruction, right? And to look at, think of, and to apprehend all the phenomena, or approach, perceive all phenomena as like dreams. And then, so this is objectively, right? Like as soon as we open our eyes, right, and pay attention and to the sound, and then so we've been engaging to the objects, right? Or when we open to anything that's give it the when we follow our sense, right, five senses, let the sort of play with the mode of operation of the five senses, the faculties, we are engaging in all kinds of forms of objectivity. So here text teaches us, advises us, we must treat all those sense objects as like dreams. Right? So that's how text teaches us how to handle the apprehended, the phenomena, the object, the objectively. So then, this, like the text says in the second line, so we're not done. Treat the phenomena, all phenomena as like dreams is not a completed task, right? So after we finish this, then we need to turn it in, okay, and to analytically and take the second analytical sort of the task of our meditative or analytical meditation. That is to examine the nature of unbound awareness. Okay? And then once you finish this examination of the nature of unbound awareness, that's still not completed the task of your meditative analytical meditation in this particular context. Then you have to move on to the remedy. Right? The remedy, like text says, the remedy itself is released in its own place. And then finally, you need to do like what text says, place the essence of the path on the nature of the base of all. Okay. I know this is a bit complicated and a kind of a bit confusing, but let me give you a very simple example. Then I guess it will make you will see it make sense. Okay. First of all, let's bring our favorite life activity, that is consuming and enjoy, appreciate the meal, right? The food. And by the way, we just finished the Thanksgiving, and I'm sure you still remember that the excitement, right? You experience a vivid memory and of how you responded to the delicious meal on that day at the dinner table. Right in front of the food, all kinds of dishes, right? So let's say here you are on the dinner table on the Thanksgiving day, right? And you saw a variety of food on the table, right? What do you see? You call the name. Oh, say, wow, that's great. But what you saying, and based on what you have seen through your sense of eye organ, is the color and the shape. Right? And then you probably up on to smell something which is delicious, right? And then you say, wow, smells good, right? So at this point, the food that you see, this color and the shape, right? And not only color and shape, but the third sort of aspect of that object, which we call the Thanksgiving dinner and a meal, is about the smell. And then you take the portion, or you made up your dishes, right? And then you begin to eat. And then the first bites would give you, or make you say something like, wow, this is really delicious, right? Now, you are talking the same food that you saw at the beginning. You said, wow, what a nice meal. At this point, you are saying the food from the tasting perspective, or how it appears to you, and how your town tells you, the sense of the town tells you whether it's delicious or not. So now it's the taste about the food, right? Okay. So now the food, the color, shape, right? And the smell and the taste, all this are there. It seems objectively there, right? Now let's say about this deliciousness, right? How wonderful the food is, because up until this point, right, everything seems objectively established, objectively sort of self-existing. Objectively manifested by itself or existed under its own power, right? It is real, existed, is something is real, something existed autonomously. So now let's take apply our meditation, like consider all phenomena as like a dream technology, okay, this technique. Apply this technology or technique to look back, reflect upon, back to what we have seen. So essentially what you see, you say, wow, this nice meal, you're talking about the color and the shape. Is that food just end up with the color shape? Obviously not. Why? Because color shape is involved again, is constituted, consisting of something else and more subtle, which probably, let's say, is all kinds of the matters, right? Maybe items, right? Or some kind of chemical entities involved. So it's no longer the shape, the color and the shape, but it is really some sort of chemistry, some sort of physical and the elements, right? So your sense of color and the shape is gone, right? It diminished. You know that it's not for real, but rather is end up with you understand of the color shape as a food, and as real now is oh, it is not actually. What I have seen is the elements of the all kind of thing, maybe and the electron or the proton or neutron, whatever. Is a physical, right? And is a chemistry involved with some form of chemistry. And now let's say the test. Test is the most significant thing, right? That makes us very pleased. Well, when you stop, pause, and look at the test of deliciousness. So first, without an analysis, without a questioning, and practice any form of inquiry, it seems that the taste is come from the food, is there, right? The food is, the taste is the within food, the food itself is sort of, merely that we feel taste is merely because of the food itself. In fact, it is not, right? Because your first bite may be delicious, second, and then you goes on, right? And that very sense of or recognition or understanding of food is absolutely, tastiness of food is sort of derived from the food, from the object itself, will become questionable. Because when you focus on this sense, the feeling, right? Feeling of deliciousness, right? And the more you're consuming and more you're going on, and then the sense of the deliciousness began, and right, shifted the gear from this kind of very desirable and become less desirable eventually, or completely become is not something that's testable, right? So this question, the process of questioning or the examination of the test of the tastiness of food or deliciousness of the food, the test of the food now is end up is not objectively is possessed by food autonomously or independently. So now you know that your first impression of the food, the deliciousness of the food is not true. Right? Let's say it's sour or sweet, right? And whatever you test, and you know that at the end of your searching, your analytical meditation, and it's just become some kind of memory, right? Some kind of recollections, mental recollections. It is no longer possessed or possessing. And objectively within the food itself, right? So that's what we have done with this technique of the food and the examples of the food as a means to apply the first technique to consider all phenomena as like a dream. You know that can be practiced or can be conducted through this way. Let's move to the second line. And of the technique, augmentative technology, and examine the nature of an unbound awareness. So, and basically, actually, we already said that the nature, right? Nature is you feel test, and then you look back at the sense of the test, a deliciousness, and you find that actually it's not there. It's just kind of end up with some sort of memorization or some kind of the memories, right? And then your technique is to the unbound awareness. So the test you need to do here is examine the unbound nature of examine the nature of unbound awareness. Right? Then the third line, the third technique is that the remedy itself is released in its own place. Okay, so now let's use the food or the experience of consuming the Thanksgiving dinner again. So you have the food, right? And then you have the mind or the consciousness or the senses, right? Senses of eye, senses of nose, senses of tongue, right? And then senses of mind, and all together objectively sort of give you this the experience of the food is delicious, right? Now, other than food, that's object, right? And the subject, which is the senses, right? In this case, is the nose, tongue, and your eye, the senses of eye. So we have done that. Now let's follow the third line, that is remedy itself released in its own place. That is involved with the person, right? So we have food, we have the experiencing, right, and of the food. That's by the senses, right? Conduct by senses. But the person, I or person, and an individual who is also played involved with this process of experience of the deliciousness, right? So now let's check it out what this person is, right? How this person is all about, right? When we examine the apprehended and or the person who is comprehending, experiencing, and who experienced the food, and now you are trying to comprehending the to what extent, what kind of role you being played in this process of the food experience, right? Deliciousness of the food. And then our examination of the food will be, again, will become questionable. Because at first you say, I enjoyed, I was there, I'm the person who is involved with this, the experience of deliciousness. Now, so that person, right, when you examine carefully, brought that sense of I or the individuality, the aging who experienced this deliciousness, and put it under the critical analytical meditation, or put it under the tables of is a critical examination, and then you will find that actually just like the food and the color and the shape of the food evolve and end up in some kind of very subtle, and it become a matter, and it end up in the very subtle and the form, right, and material form. And the test again is the sense of the test also end up is kind of some kind of past memory, memorizations, right? And so the eye of the person, the agent who appreciate and enjoying the deliciousness of the food, now also and cannot be found or cannot be approached as it appears to you, and at the moment when you see the food or when you taste the food, right? Now it's become unfoundable and objectively and under this very critical meditative analysis, right? So, and then what you find is something is which we call as in the form of emptiness, or it's emptied off, right? The I has been emptied by and that false impression of being an independent agent who is appreciate the food now is being emptied off or being devoid of that false impression. And just like similarly, the test, the experience of the deliciousness also is devoid of or emptied of by that false impression, and then meaning that the food, the deliciousness of the food is sort of invaded, right, or possessed by the food objectively. Which is again, at this point, is being devoided, right? And similarly, the food itself, right? Because up onto the point where you see is the color and shape of the food is end up in the very subtle physical elements, or the very elemental kind of elements of constitutes of the constitutes. But it's not really the actual shape and the color. And then you further your analysis that very subtle sort of materialistic the nature or the characters of the objectivity of the food, the material aspect of the food is also and will be devoid, become devoid of or emptied of, and it's the false impression that you received or you developed at the first place. So, and then what you find is the sphere of reality, the emptiness. So here, the suggestion is, after you reach to this point, all you need to do is you must maintain in that very clear and precise the state of realization, right? So you must conduct and try to remain in that state of meditation, and by free yourself from the lack sentiment.
모르겠습니다. 다 뒤쳐줬습니다. 그러면 아줌마도 오케이. 좋아요, 나 동생.
Okay. So yeah, this commentary or the explanation have been a bit long, so therefore we run out of time. We'll have about 5 minutes. Do you, any of you have any questions?
Okay, I have a question that was emailed to me, which seems pretty, it works with what we're talking about. So question number 1, what was the original thought of Buddha regarding the non-self? And then the concept of non-self leads us to question of rebirth. Seemingly there is a contradiction here. What is the correct understanding of rebirth based on the non-self phenomenon?
등이 고소. 일단 당보때 돈도 당보때라네. 같이라 덴바니기 고 요고 시송나 저노때 렌다도 포고르지. 아니 돈된 덴빙올라 랑진지 드파 요 말이지. 군주 덴빙올라 샤시 탐지 망가 샤와시 타고.
The short answer for the first question about the non-self is you needed to study and try to understand the system of or the teachings of the two truths. Okay? The two truths means that the conventional truth and the ultimate truth. In other words, if you understand and this how the two truths are functioning, you will see that from a conventional point of view, or at the conventional level, things, events are folding, unfolding, and operating. Okay? But from the ultimate point of view, or from ultimate truth point of view, in whatever you see or you have appears to you objectively, and that's objectively or inherently, right? Or existed inherently, or operating under its own power, self-existing. That the mode of self-existing is a false and is a mistaken. In other words, the phenomena does not inherently exist. So that is understand this, and you see that, and that means you understand the second truth, the truth of ultimate truth. So yes, the short answer is to fully understand this point of non-self, and we do need to understand the system or the teachings of two truths.
Pinan Jamsun some on Jamsun the Mukataisana Mukatong to go Della Pay Chatsong Yongor as on Miss Yongor, Shawa Tamsigur, Delangan Jamsun remote to the Kiloncher. And Jamsun the only kind of yours is Janison Jamsun to call Charawat and Yumi or Tong Mongos Tong Della Tenjong Della Tenico Sharachimato. We need to Mepang as thought with we need to go to be over. Then I was Chitamchi Chong. 너무 몰라 탐지 요럴 때는 떠든 잔에 손을 많이 바르지 때 된종 돈 시고 그랬다.
Let me give you an example, and hopefully this makes it a little bit clear. So we all have experience with the rainbow, right? Rainbow, and then prior or during, after the rain, and we will see that the rainbows arrived, right, sky and somewhere. And so vividly, and as observer, we see that rainbow and the distance, distantly, and we saw that it is very beautifully formed and so appealing, and so by itself out there, and no one can deny, and they see the rainbow is up there, right? So this is your impression, your knowledge, or your empirical, right, knowledge about the rainbow, and when you see it, right? However, when you, so this is sort of a fixed, right, objects, right? It's out there by itself, it's self-existing. That's your impression, that's what you see. However, when you pause and look back, right? And then you know, actually rainbow appear objectively out there by itself. In fact, it's not the case. The rainbow is there is due to the many, it is involved in many causes, conditions, such like the moisture, right, and the sunlight and space, right, and all other material matters is taken parts, and so all together as a collectively then formed this phenomena which we call a beautiful rainbow. So similarly, right. Then, when you reach this point, you know that oh, rainbow. I'm under the under the impression of a rainbow is up there, and the sky is so beautiful, existed under its own power and self-existing, which is the false, you know, right? But it doesn't really restrain you from appreciating it, right? However, that very phenomena of the rainbow at this point and then and your understanding is not the self-existing or inherently exist object. Now let's bring this to our the spiritual and the practice aspect of this thing. So we generally experience all things, all events, all the time, right? And so at the first place, at the first time, at the beginning or prior to the critical and your application of the critical analysis, so those events, experiences, and phenomena, whatever, it seems that they are operating, existing, and functioning, and its own power, right? Objectively. But when you pause, just like you did the way the rainbow, examine its reality, right? Its actuality, the true mode of it and its existence, you will end up, the phenomena and the events, right? And the things that are experiencing now, in fact, is now it's become your mental appearance. It's not merely and absolutely something that's objectively out there, but rather it is your mental appearance.
Okay.
Or it's a mere mental appearance. Become a mere mental appearance.
Okay, second question maybe other. Yeah, okay. This, yeah, welcome. Okay.
Tu vas ce que c'est là? Oh.
Okay, thank you, Geshe Kunga, Tempa, and Tenzin. If you would like to make a donation for this teaching, it would be greatly appreciated by the monastery and the monks, and also donating for our translator, Tenzin. You can do this by calling 812-336-6807 or by emailing the center at tmbcc.kcl@gmail.com. For those of you here in the temple, you may give a donation if you'd like, or if you cannot, you can say a prayer or mantra into the bowl. That's perfectly all right. And also at 12 o'clock, we will have a second teaching here with this week with Geshe. 12:30? 12. Okay, 12 o'clock with Geshe Gyatso, who will be teaching Shanti Deva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, we have some snacks out in the hallway. Dessert? Yeah, in the hallway. So please help yourself when you leave. Fruit. I think some candy.
Candy, water, fruit, also. Pie, yeah, that's very delicious pie there. Everybody enjoy this class.
Okay, the closing prayer on page number 80.
tang kui ro ve ye ye mo ba sa shi ya ve tang ba ye rong zhen je tang ba ren chen chou ge ma jiao cha jiang yang ber zhi wei shou de jie chen bu yo ru zhu ba yi pan de de sa wu shi ber jin yang wei ma shong zhen de la zhe shang qiu lang jie ren bei tan du nan jie ye la hu de shang ya wei zang ba rong de zhong jie la zang zhe bei ten jian zhe xi ga jian se xi me dang me men ro gen de yao wei yao ba yi nan da lang dang zhao wu ma yi gang zi dang ban qiu la qi zhou zhi zi zhen zhen na zong ba de yi de de nan yi da de zhou xi zhao xi yang cu xiu gen qiao yi ba de za wei lang ma ren bu xi da zu ni gu ba me dang xiong la ga zhen qian bu gu ni ji zong de ge song te jie mi zhe zang de so chang zhu sim zhou ren bu xi ma jie ba ne ji yi ji jie wa niang ba me ber yang gong ne gong de bei wu shou gang zhe ra wei gu wei shang ke men de pan dang de wa ma lian zhong wei ne xiang ri zi wang dan zi yang zong yi sha bei sen te par de dan yi ji ba wo zhe de tian ba dang gen de zang bo de yang de zhen de da gen jie ji si da lu jiang ye wa de da tam zhi ra de ngo di si mo xia bei ya wa tam zhi ye ngo wa gang la qiu de nga ba de da zhi ge wei za wa de gen jiang zong zhu shi ra de ngo er ji ban de zhong de dan ba de shang ye dan zhen jie wu tam zhi gen gang zang li zhen gen lang de jin zhong wei ne sang jie dan ba da de yi er ji zi ru gen de ya wa zong ga wei xin yan ne si za bei de ya wei ha bei na zang de nie li ge ji za yang dou ber ma yi